Trump wants to reopen one of America's most notorious prisons. What is this header thing doing? Why is this so intrusive?
I don't
That's
know.
awful. Fuck you, CNN. Here's how Alcatraz earned its reputation. President Donald Trump said on Sunday he would order the government to rebuild and reopen Alcatraz, a former prison on the small island. The prison, which closed 60 years ago due to its crumbling infrastructure and high maintenance costs, will serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice, Trump said in a post on Truth Social on Sunday, later telling reporters it was just an idea. He had his federal judges push to ensure deported immigrants had due process. They came into the country avoiding due process.
Yes, therefore
They can leave the country avoiding due process. On Monday, and they had an opportunity for due process in many cases.
Yeah.
On Monday, the U.S. Bureau of Prisons Director William K. Marshall said his agency will pursue all avenues to implement Trump's plans for reopening Alcatraz. The Department of the Interior referred CNN to Trump's statement, saying the Department National Park Service had nothing to add at this time.
It sounds to me like it's kind of a pet project.
I would agree, and I think it might be a case of his mouth outran his brain for a moment.
Yeah, these things happen.
And he kind of went, let's just do Alcatraz. It'll be great. I know, I get it. Okay.
I don't know. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I would rather see him actually put up, robotic gun towers at the southern border.
I have been a fan of putting CIWS turrets on towers there with motion sensors for a long time.
Yep.
And then along select sections, you just open a 24/7 rifle range out to 800 meters. And anybody who crosses into it, I mean, you were warned. There were signs there.
Yeah. If you have you actually been standing near one of those things when it goes off? I think
CIWS?
So fucking loud.
No,
it is insane.
I was near a GAU when it went off. The GAU, the 30 millimeter.
Uh-huh.
And that about took my head clean off.
Yeah.
Wrong.
We used to have one on Victory, and it would really shoot down mortar rounds and shit. And I remember just doing
it was
stuff.
it was an ADF turret.
Yeah. Now they have the Q-36, and you hear wah, 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 and you see little puffs of smoke in the air, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Whoa.
It was fucking amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Something like 6,000 rounds a second or something.
I have no idea.
It's crazy. It's a lot. It's
one
many.
Big burp of death. That's all it really was.
Yeah. I think like every 50th round is a tracer. You can probably run between those.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Not really.
That was one of my favorite stories. You told that one night where you were talking about there were tracer rounds. You go, I might be able to get behind
the 50 cal. The enemy had 50 cals, and they're putting suppressive fire on the drop zone in Rio Hato. And I remember watching them, and I'm like, and they were about 500, 700 meters away, and I'm like, I can dodge that. And then Bad Pop is like, you do realize there's 5 rounds between each tracer that you can
tracer.
See.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, yeah, I can't dodge that.
No, not that.
But it ran through my head. It really ran through my head.
You could probably, in fact, dodge the tracer rounds themselves.
I wouldn't really want to
do not the rounds in between.
No, you get hit with a 50 cal, something's coming off your body, or you're coming in 2 pieces. I mean, that's no joke.
We were told that the 50 cals were only for equipment and vehicles. You couldn't actually use them on people.
Yeah, I was never told that.
Our platoon sergeant quietly pointed out later that canteens and helmets are equipment.
Yes.
So there's that anyway. All right, where were we? Maximum security minimum.
We just finished the escape.
Right. No, I had to refine what I had done with the screens here. The island of Alcatraz, a strategic location at the entrance to San Francisco Bay, made it ideal for defense until modern warfare arrived. The Army built a fort there in the 1850s and equipped it with Artillery needed to protect the bay from foreign invasion amid U.S. interests in the Pacific. It was also used to protect San Francisco from Confederate raiders during the Civil War. What the fuck were Confederate? Now I'm interested. I didn't know there were any Civil War actions at all in that part of the country.
I didn't know either.
During the Civil War. I want to look into that.
All right. Well, not today. It's not the subject.
That's fine. I understand. It's still fascinating, though.
And I believe Port Hueneme is near there, which is used to be a Navy base.
Alameda's there.
Uh-huh.
That's a naval air station.
Okay.
It's right there. I know that. And then we've got Presidio, and Presidio's shut down now, and the school moved to Monterey.
Huh.
In 1933, the U.S. military turned Alcatraz over to the Department of Justice, beginning the island's nearly 3 decades as the Rock. Federal government has decided to open a maximum security, minimum privilege penitentiary to deal with the most incorrigible inmates in federal prisons and to show the law-abiding public that the federal government was serious about stopping the rampant crime of the 20s and 30s. Oh, wow. John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson, etc., Al Capone.
They would have really cool gangsters at the crimes that are happening today.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Dillinger would have been considered a very polite, friendly individual compared to the shit that you see today. Prisoners at Alcatraz had 4 rights: food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. All other privileges, including visits or access to books, art supplies, and music, had to be earned. For all of its infamy, Alcatraz averaged a prison population of about 260 to 275 prisoners at any given time. Well, there's part of the problem right there. It's built to hold 500, and they had 250 guys there. Everybody knows how federal budgets work.
And they shrink if you don't inflate.
Right. Yes. Exactly. So that would have been part of the problem.
But
right off.
You also have to understand is you got to pay all those people. It's for 250 guys. It's not really worth it.
Mm-mm.
It's a big headache.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying that it's too expensive. Logistically, it's just too much of a pain in the ass. Yeah. I think they should just keep doing the ghost hunts there and leave it be. That's just my opinion. But
maybe, yeah.
Because if they want to store, because you're going to have to store more than 500 people on there, a minimum of 2,000. So you're going to really redo everything.
Here's a theory. What if they escaped from New York did? What if they just built a 60-foot high wall around it and put guard turrets up there? And then when you went in, that's it. Figure it out for yourself. And do occasional food drops and water.
That would get pretty barbaric, but yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. If you put the right type of people in there, you could dump all the pedophiles in there.
It'll be handled.
And then a platoon's worth of Hell's Angels, maybe.
Yeah.
And just let it go from there, Let nature take its course. So, I accidentally hit the "Do you want to leave the studio" button.
Don't do that.
Fortunately, it says, "Do you really want to?" I'm like, no. Alcatraz saw more than 14 separate escape attempts. I realize we're rehashing this, but it's funny. Using spoons and homemade tools, including a drill made from a vacuum cleaner motor. That is fantastic. They dug through the ventilation ducts behind their cells, which they used to establish makeshift workshop on top of their cell block.
All right.
Again, there's a guy sitting next to that hole.
That's not a big hole. That's
that is not a big hole.
That's what she said.
She lied. And everybody says it's believed that the group never made it to land and disappeared in the cold waters. I don't think they did. That's just my opinion. I have nothing to base that on. It's a feeling. However, this one is a new story that we didn't get to yet. The Birdman of Alcatraz, and this is one of my personal favorites because it's kind of interesting. A guy named Robert Stroud, nicknamed the Birdman of Alcatraz for his interest in ornithology. Originally imprisoned for manslaughter in 1909, Stroud later killed a prison guard and was sentenced to life in solitary confinement at Leavenworth.
Ooh.
While in prison, Stroud began raising canaries and conducted research on birds, later publishing respected books on bird diseases. Though he was allowed to conduct his studies in his cell, prison authorities later found that equipment Stroud had requested for his experiments were used to construct a still for a home brew, according to Federal Bureau. Well, of course he would. Why wouldn't? I'm in solitary. Stroud was then transferred to Alcatraz in 42, where he was not allowed to keep birds. He left the Alcatraz for another facility in 59 and died 4 years later.
So he died in 63 too.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. You know what I'm wondering right now?
Huh.
Usually Jimmy Bones is turned up.
Yeah. I don't know where he's at.
Hope he's all right. Hope he's all right.
I'll send him a text message.
Hope a truck didn't fall on him.
Yeah, usually here by 15 after.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware of it. Let's see here. This is actually kind of funny. I'm going to go with this one here.
Donald Trump wants to reopen Alcatraz. He wants to send the worst of the worst in America to this prison. I want to show you what a prison cell in Alcatraz looks like. This prison cell is 5 feet wide, 9 feet in depth, and 7 feet in height. Do you think this looks suitable for a prisoner to live in? The worst of the worst, keep that in mind. Currently, right now, there's no running water. Obviously, these toilets don't flush. Things like
Wait. Look below the sink.
That's not a big hole.
That's the vent hole they would have gone through.
Yeah.
Look at her. She's clearly not a big woman.
She's about 5'5", 105, 110 pounds.
Bro.
Yeah.
don't flush. Things like this would have to be revamped. A lot of money would have to go into this prison to get it up to speed. But do you think criminals, the worst of the worst, need to live in luxury? Or is something like this okay for prisoners to live in? Would you like the prisoners living in your neighborhood, or would you prefer them to be right here? Is Donald Trump trying to make this like El Salvador, saying the worst of the worst will be sent to Alcatraz? Right here in California, there's a lot of crime going on in America, a lot of lawlessness going on in America. People aren't charged for crimes, but I think opening up Alcatraz, sending the worst of the worst here, might make people think twice before they do something. Donald Trump.
I don't know.
Just her argument is sound. If there was a prison that you could end up in that looked like that, if you committed crime X and you knew about it,
yeah,
would you not be a little more concerned about that?
Jimmy made it.
And we were talking about sending Jimmy to Alcatraz if he didn't show up.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of a mishap at work right before we closed. So
it's all
good, we figured something would come up. We figured something would come up. So
all right.
That's okay. Hang on. Let me see where we were. We did that one there. That's the adjusted cost. And actually, I grokked the cost.
Okay.
So let's grok the cost together. It'll be fun.
They said.
That's what she said. Oh, Jimmy has already pushed the button because he's the evil button pushing monkey. Let me bring that up. How much did it cost to build ADX Florence, the Supermax?
That was $60 million in 94.
It was $60 million in 1994. What if this is adjusted for cost for Florence ADX Supermax today? To calculate the adjusted cost of the building ADX Florence Supermax in 2025 dollars, we start with the original cost of $60 million in 94. We use the Consumer Price Index to adjust for inflation, as it is the standard method for estimating charges and purchasing power over time. Whole bunch of math.
Yep.
This is the language Pop actually understands and can write.
Yeah.
Anything else, you're rolling fucking dice.
Yeah. Monthly inflation.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, my guess is anywhere between 130 and 210 million.
Right.
Just I mean, and if you want to like reduce everything to rubble and rebuild from scratch, you're talking $500 million.
Yeah. So here's the algorithm here. And then you substitute the values, you calculate the ratio, apply it to the original cost. Looks like times 2.17%. And it is roughly $130 million to build ADX Florence in 2025.
There you
That's
go.
really not that extreme. I would expect it to be more, honestly.
But if you're going to haul all the shit out to an island and then have to bring a professional label force out there,
Yep.
It's going to be way more expensive.
Again, pull all of the USAID money.
I know, but and that's going to add like an additional 70 to 80 million to that.
Yeah.
So 210 million ish.
Thereabouts, somewhere in there.
Correct.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.